Everything we know about human history is a lie. Well, maybe not everything, but for decades, textbooks taught us a very specific timeline, that humans first learned to farm, built villages, and only then did we start building temples. But in 1994, deep in the hills of Turkey, archaeologists dug up something that shattered that timeline forever. We're talking about Göbekli Tepe. It's a massive, highly sophisticated stone complex dating back nearly 12,000 years. That's 7,000 years older than Stonehenge and the pyramids. And get this, it was built by hunter-gatherers who supposedly didn't even have metal tools or wheels. Today on Global 19, in this explainer, we travel back to the dawn of civilization to uncover who really built this impossible temple and why they chose to intentionally bury it under the sand.
You know, the discovery of Göbekli Tepe literally flipped our established historical script totally upside down. It proved that this deep human urge to build monumentally and maybe to worship together actually came way before we ever planted a single seed of wheat or domesticated an animal. It completely rewrites the standard narrative of human progress we've all accepted for so long.
Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, the Timeline Shatterer.
So, Göbekli Tepe dates all the way back to 10,000 BC. Just to wrap your head around that makes it a staggering 7,000 years older than Stonehenge and over 7,500 years older than the Great Pyramids of Giza. It sits right at the absolute dawn of human civilization, right as the last ice age was ending. To really put that into perspective, there's actually more time between the construction of Göbekli Tepe and the building of Stonehenge than there is between Stonehenge and you listening to me right now. Crazy, right?
Moving on to Section 2, the Impossible Pillars.
Now here is where things get really wild. Mainstream archaeology tells us that the builders were nomadic hunter-gatherers. They had absolutely no metal tools, no wheels, no written language, and zero agriculture. Yet this exact same group of people somehow engineered a highly sophisticated, monumental stone complex. They managed to organize massive labor forces to quarry and stand up these towering pillars, which completely defies everything we thought we knew about what ancient people were actually capable of doing.
And the sheer physical weight of these structures is almost incomprehensible. The ancient builders carved enormous T-shaped stone monoliths, with some of them weighing up to 20 tons. Think about that, 20 tons. Without a single pulley or beast of burden to help them, human beings cut these massive blocks straight from bedrock and drag them up a hill using absolutely nothing but raw manpower, ropes, and maybe some wooden rollers. The level of social organization needed to pull that off is just staggering.
Furthermore, they definitely didn't just leave these 20-ton pillars blank. No way. Using only harder stones, like flint, these ancient artists decorated the monoliths with incredible three-dimensional carvings. We're talking high-relief sculptures of foxes, scorpions, vultures, and lions. And they were masterfully crafted too. They literally chipped away the background stone to leave the animal figure standing out prominently. It's a testament to a level of artistic skill that we honestly never imagined existed 12,000 years ago.
Which brings us to Section 3, the Hidden Comet Warning.
So this leads into a really fascinating, highly debated theory that researchers are looking into right now. Originally, we all just assumed Göbekli Tepe was purely a place for worship, the world's first temple. But when you look at the terrifying nature of the animals depicted, the scorpions, the predatory cats, the vultures, some scientists are starting to ask a totally different question. Were these massive stones actually erected as a cryptic, desperate warning to future generations?
Enter the Younger Dryas Cataclysm theory. The Younger Dryas was this period of sudden extreme global cooling that kicked off around 10,800 BC, which is right around the time Göbekli Tepe was active. Some researchers believe that those specific animal carvings on the pillars aren't just random wildlife. Instead, they might represent ancient constellations in the night sky. So according to this theory, the pillars actually serve as a celestial map, pointing directly to a devastating comet strike that caused that massive cooling event and wiped out a huge chunk of ancient life on Earth. If that's true, Göbekli Tepe is less of a temple and more of a memorial, or even an astronomical observatory tracking the skies for returning threats.
And that brings us to Section 4, the Ultimate Mystery.
Because the sequence of events here is honestly the most bizarre part of the whole shebang. After investing this unbelievable generation-spanning amount of effort to construct this massive monument back in 10,000 BC, the builders didn't just let it slowly fall into ruin over time. They did something completely inexplicable. They intentionally buried the entire complex. They hauled countless tons of soil, rubble, and refuse just to fill in the enclosures completely, perfectly hiding those towering pillars underground. And then they just abandoned the site entirely.
It sat there, perfectly preserved under an artificial hill for nearly 12,000 years, just waiting for archaeologists to finally find it.
So we are left with the ultimate ancient cold case. Why on earth did humanity's first monumental builders intentionally hide their absolute greatest achievement from the world? Were they trying to protect the site from another coming disaster? Were they decommissioning a sacred space that had maybe lost its power? Or were they deliberately preserving a message, knowing that thousands of years later, we would finally dig it up and realize our origins are far older and way stranger than we ever imagined? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the past.